We ready? Good morning, October 19th, 2023, regular board meeting agenda. The Magna Water District, 8885 West, 3500 South, General Office Building. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Will you all stand and let's do the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So here today on our diocese table, we have Clint Dealey as our general manager, Nathan Bracken as our legal counsel, Dallas Henline as our wastewater manager, Jeff White, Mick Sudbury, Danny Stewart, Leal Fitzgerald as our controller, Andrew Sumption as our HR, and our water manager is Raymond Mondragon, and I'd like to excuse Trevor Andre today. I'd like to welcome the public and guests. Anybody here want to comment to the board today on anything? Now's the time. Okay, see none? So, and also, does anybody have a conflict of interest on our agenda today? See none there. Okay. Approval of the common consent items.
Minutes of the regular board meeting held September 21st, 2023. Expensive for September 11th to October 8th, 2023. General expenses, $1,291,251.07. Science Bank bond payment of $86,688.44.
I'll second it.
Been motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, our item G, who's going to address?
I will, right?
Okay,
Introductions. All right, so we'd like to welcome, if you'd please stand up, Gene Stopp and Gavin Henshaw. Gene started working with Magna Water District on October 16th, 2023. Gene grew up in West Jordan, Utah, and attended Copper Hills High School. Gene enjoys to work and be able to go home and home after work and relax at the end of the day. He was previously employed by South Jordan City, where he achieved a water distribution 4. He loves working in water construction and being the guy in the hole. We're pretty excited to have somebody come with his skill set and ready to jump in. Welcome to the district, Gene.
thank you guys, appreciate it.
Gavin Henshaw started working with Magna Water District on October 17th, 2023. Gavin grew up locally in Magna and attended Cypress High. Prior to Magna Water, he was doing landscaping and comes to us with some experience running some small equipment. On his spare time, he enjoys hunting and fishing, so he should fit in pretty good around here. We're excited to work with Gavin. Welcome to the district, Gavin. I've already heard some great things from their lead about how willing they are to jump in and work on repairs and how quickly they're learning and adding to our culture.
Yeah,
Thanks,
watching
guys.
them out, watching them outside yesterday, working the last couple of days, I'm really impressed, and I'm glad that you guys are part of our team now. Then I think we can go forward now with a good construction crew now. That's good.
Welcome, you guys, glad to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've known Gavin since he was about that high, many moons ago.
You guys can take off now if you want.
Thank you.
Nice to meet all you guys. Appreciate it. Have a good day.
See ya. Thank you.
I believe Dallas will handle the next one.
Sure. Accomplishments. We wanted to recognize Scott Beck, if you'll stand up, Mr. Beck. Scott took the wastewater treatment grade 3 certification during the last round of testing and was able to pass that. So that's a test that I've taken. It's not an easy test by any means. So congratulations to Scott. That just shows your dedication. I know how many hours you've had to study for that, both on the clock and at your own kitchen table. So you should be proud of yourself. That's a huge accomplishment for both our department and the district. So thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Good job.
And then we've got Dylan Delabelle, if you'll stand up, please. So as you guys know, Dylan is a wastewater treatment operator, but Dylan just took and passed his water distribution grade 4 as part of our district cross-training program. So I've seen Dylan interacting with guys on different crews, trying to figure out what he would need to study for this and try to get some of the real-world experience that's hard to learn from the book. So for Dylan to be able to take this, not being on that crew and not seeing that type of work every day really speaks to his dedication to the district as well. So thank you, Dylan.
Congratulations.
Great job.
Thank you.
The next one, I think Trevor nominated, so I'll talk on that one. We had a contractor that was working on a new development, and they hit our 12-inch trunk line.
Do you want to explain to the board where that was at?
Yeah, it was over in the Freeport West area, the North Frontage Road, about 60, South Frontage Road, yeah, South Frontage Road, about 60, what, 63, 400 West. It had a lot of flow in it, and so we were fortunate in that they broke the top out of the pipe and it was basically flowing through a trench that was stabilized. But they made the mistake of trying to pump it out onto the ground into a sump. So we were fortunate. Rob was out there immediately, told them, hey, quit doing that. Basically guided them through what they needed to do. And Dallas contacted the state regulators, the Department of Health Department, and coordinated with them immediately. They felt confident in us enough with their relationship with Dallas that they allowed us to do the cleanup.
Oh, good.
Also, one of the things that saved the contractor was Dallas made one phone. He couldn't get a bypass pumping company to come out. Dallas made a phone call and had someone lined up within an instant, out within half hour.
Yeah. So bypass pumping within 90 minutes of the call.
So you go from one manhole to the other?
Yeah.
Right.
So it's called a sanitary sewer overflow event. It's a minor one. It was considered a minor
Right.
one because of how it was handled.
Correct.
But there is some paperwork and there will be some costs that contractor has to pay for our time to clean it up, because our Vector crew went and cleaned up all of the material that they had dumped on the ground and hauled
That's
that
pretty
off.
deep. How do they hit that?
The contractor claimed that there was a post that was sitting on top. When you were looking in the trench, you could see a tire and you could see some things on the sidewall that they'd have to remove. There was some garbage. There's a lot of debris in the trench. He said he picked something and a post took off the top.
Oh,
So we're fortunate that we got a team that's experienced and knows how to handle these situations, and wanted to recognize the extra effort that Matt put into that, along with Rob. And Justin Long came out and helped out. Dallas stayed out there the whole time, and it was a pretty late night. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to communicate to the board that in an incident like this, you know, as the manager, there's several phone calls. I think I made 30 phone calls within the first 10 minutes. And if my focus is on communication with the state, that leaves a lot of responsibility to both Rob Jaturka and Matt Hunter and Justin Long. And when this first happened and those guys came on site, we were able to communicate the plan and the goal effectively. Rob was able to work with the contractor to get the line shut down and start the repair. And I think the way I saw him communicate with the contractor speaks to how much he's grown and how much experience he has, and how what a benefit to the district he's been in his position. Again, with Matt Hunter, Matt is a seasoned and experienced guy, but he hasn't been with us that long. But the way he performed that day, fell right in line, knew exactly what to do, open lines of communication, met all of our expectations. So we've got some gift cards for you guys, and I'll make sure that these get to you, but that could have been a lot worse. So thank you guys for your commitment and the way you guys handled yourselves. It was very professional, and it made my job easy, so thank you very much.
It's good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. That's what makes emergencies manageable, right? When we got people that know what to do and take care of it. So we rely on them. It didn't affect any other customers.
Good, great, thank you again.
Done very well.
Yep.
You could trim them beards up a little. Kinda look like Scott over there.
Okay. I think
Okay.
that's all we had for that one.
Okay, let's move on to,
See you
our
guys.
department report.
Seeing that.
Okay, Clint, I'm gonna let you take over the general
Okay.
manager's report.
You've got the written copy in the packet. I'll just highlight a couple items from that unless the board wants me to talk anything I miss specific. We have been winterizing the secondary water system, so we've been draining that system, and we're going to move into preparing for winterization
Yep.
here in the next.
So we're down now on secondary
Yep,
water.
Secondary water,
drains,
yeah.
will be finished today.
Okay.
Yep. We're looking forward to the construction crews going to complete our portion of the tie-over of the Magna Regional Park. So next irrigation season will be all secondary water use over on that big park complex.
So we have just the last tie-in that will feed the park and to separate them from
This is the one
culinary.
with 4,100.
Yes. Yep, so that'll be within the next week. So move
That'll
forward
save
on
a
that.
little money, won't it?
Oh, yeah. A lot of culinary water.
So but the water stuff will stay on culinary, right?
The park will be on
fountain.
culinary,
Okay.
yeah, inside, yeah, it feeds from two different sources.
Okay, awesome.
I'll also highlight that there was some concern about the reuse water and how the recent legislation would impact the district. If you remember, we testified before the committee up at the legislature and told them our concerns. We felt like they accommodated our concerns as best they could, but we wanted to get confirmation from Division of Water Rights that they saw it the same way we did. So Trevor and I and Attorney Peter with Smith Harvickson went to a meeting with Division of Water Rights, and they confirmed that they feel like our water rights approved and in good standing.
So they were, if I remember right, the discussion is they're trying to take that away from some of the districts from
Yeah.
reusing.
Any new
Well,
appropriations
it's a little-
after November 1st.
It's a little more nuanced than that. And I don't think your project would apply even if we hadn't gotten all these approvals in. But basically what they're saying is, if you have a project that's going to impact Great Salt Lake, i.e. you're taking water that would otherwise get it, tributary stream water, and my argument has always been, well, this is groundwater. It's not water that would otherwise make it to the lake. And you have water that could offset it if need be with your shares. The issue is there's a deadline coming up November 1st in which none of these new requirements apply if you get all your paperwork in. And the district has had its water rights approved for this project since the 60s, which predates the Water Reuse Act. And so there's some new requirements that came into being after you guys got your water rights approvals. And the question was, do we need to get these new approvals? Because we got this, you probably have the earliest reuse project in the state. And the state engineer agreed, no, you predate the act, so you don't have to comply with it. So-
So we wanted to do that due diligence just to make sure.
Yeah, well, I remember Dick saying that you guys applied, or they applied, Magna Water applied for the water rights of the effluent going out of the,
Yeah.
and if we wouldn't have done that, I don't know how that would have affected.
Yeah, it was a great foresight for the district.
And I don't know when that was done. I didn't know it
60s.
was done in the 60s, was it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Done that far. And that was really the issue is typically when you do a reuse project now, you have to file a reuse application with the state engineer so she can look at your water rights, determine if they're feasible to be used for a reuse project. And if they are, then you typically have to file a separate application. But when you guys did it in the 60s, that initial reuse application requirement didn't exist. And so that was our question is, do we need to do this? Because we didn't have to when we started this process back then, and they agreed that, no, you don't.
So we can use all of it if we want.
Well, we still have a water right that has limitations. I mean, we have to comply with the terms of the water right.
Right.
But as long as we comply with that. We may need to do some amendatory tweaks, because that was approved in the sixties before you had the plans. Once the project is, we may need to tweak, you know, some things, but we don't need to get any further reuse approvals from the state engineer.
Well, if I remember working on my well, they said that if, the state will take anything that's not claimed. So if we wouldn't have claimed it, they could have taken that water, they could have.
The state owns all the water in the state anyway, and so what usually happens is in an area like yours where there's more paper water rights than there's actual wet water,
Yeah.
they have all sorts of, they won't issue new water rights. And so you guys have a water right, it's been approved since the sixties. We may need to do some amendatory changes at some point, but we don't need to get any further approvals. We don't need to do anything by November first to
great.
comply with this statute. And even if we had, for the record, I don't think that you would be exempt anyway, because you're not using water that's tributary to the Great Salt Lake.
We're probably one of the few that have this water right, huh?
Well, there are many districts now that have reuse water rights. It's just yours was, I don't know of any that are approved in the 1960s. They all did theirs
Built in the 60s.
post 2006.
Good, good job.
Okay, only last thing, I just wanted to appreciate, me and Mick set up a meeting with the city manager, the new city manager for the town, or the town manager, David Bricky, and, I think he's gonna be a good asset for the community, and he's already sent over questions, you know, since the meeting, he sent me a couple questions for coordination, and I think it's gonna be a good relationship, so I appreciated that and wanted to let the board know we're working with them, any way we can help. That's all.
Thanks, Clint.
Thank you.
Okay, who's gonna handle the engineer report today?
I think it'll be primarily Dallas talking. But as Trevor highlighted, 3 projects he wanted to just give the board an update on. Dallas, you'll handle the first 2.
Sure. So just a quick update on the reuse project. A lot of that concrete's been poured on the pump, on the wet well side of it. They're doing the hydraulic test that started last week. It goes for 1 full week. Friday, they'll take their final measurements, and if everything passed, they'll start to backfill that portion of the excavation. On the filter bay side, that slab's been poured. They've had extra workers in there to try to move progress along. We're looking at probably the next concrete pour within the next 7 to 10 days. A lot of wall forms going in and rebar being installed. So it's been good. The contractor's been good. The consultants have been good. I think we're right where we need to be on that. So, and then next would be our wastewater treatment facility plan update. So if the board will remember, last month we started talking about the sample planning, and how expansive that sample plan would be. We're finishing the first week of that right now. We'll use all that sample data to think about future projects, equipment selection. We'll use it to calibrate our model. And we're right where we need to be for that facility plan update. So we'll continue to update the board as we get incremental milestones there, but for the most part, that's all we need to communicate for those projects.
Is going into winter have any effect on our sample procedure?
We'll be done, the window in time is only 7 to 10 days. And we'll be done with that by mid next week, so we should be good.
Okay. Then on the basement remodel, Trevor's been working with the manufacturer or the supplier to just get a couple options on this boardroom table. We met with Mick and talked about a second option where the configuration of the room would change slightly. From going from lengthwise, it would be more of this longer configuration. So he's just working through that to get a quote. So that's all on the engineering, unless the board has any questions.
Don't. Okay, Raymond, let's do your report.
Conway water production, the month of September, was 177.1 million gallons, or 543.61 acre feet, a 9.27 decrease from 2022. Year-to-date was 1,313.2 million gallons, or 4,000.30 acre feet, a 5.61 decrease from 2022. We have purchased 604.57 acre feet of water from Jordan Valley as of September. Secondary water production for the month of September was 55.4 million gallons, or 170.0 acre feet, a 17.77 decrease from 2022. Year-to-date was 273.9 million gallons, or 840.91 acre feet, a 8.97 decrease from 2022. Call-out report, wastewater and water combined, total number of call-outs 18. Water 11, wastewater 7. Main lines 1, service leaks 1. Total hours 76.75. That concludes my water production report.
Thank you. Okay, Dallas, let's move on to yours.
I just wanted to give a quick update on the Geosyntec local limits evaluation. We talked a little bit about the facility plan update and that sampling plan. As soon as that one concludes, we'll move right into the sample plan to start evaluating our local limits with Northrop Grumman. The consulting firm on that is Geosyntec, that's why I referenced them. We're scheduled to start that November 1st. We've agreed on the pollutants of concern. I don't have any issues with the pollutants that we're going to reevaluate. I wanted to communicate to the board and maybe to Dawn from Epic. One of the things that Dawn's kind of consulted to us is that we need to be aware of some of the explosive contaminants that they send down our lines. And we've agreed that the limits for any of the explosives that they send to us won't be further evaluated. So none of those will change. It's just a couple of the heavy metals and then some other constituents, but shouldn't be anything that doesn't warrant evaluation, so. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Liao.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The compliance report hasn't changed much from last board meeting, but we'll go through it real quick. The third quarter financials will be reported to the board next month at the board meeting. And the third quarter financials will also be posted to the transparency website by the end of this month, October 31st. Then, our annual trustee training, there's an agenda item for this, for the UASD conference, and talk to Mick a little bit. If any of you don't choose to go to the conference, you can do the required training online, but it has to be done by the end of the year.
Okay, so I got a question really fast. So that is November,
8th and 9th, I believe.
so we'd do the 8th and we'd do the afternoon, right?
I have the agenda here, but we could look at.
Yeah,
this at that
I
time if
think
you
it's,
want.
cause you know what, I haven't been for a while, I've just been doing it online and I
It
think,
is.
and I think I wanna go up to it. Do you wanna go up to it? I just think it'd be good to go up to it and just,
So you were gonna find out the exact date, is that right? November
Yeah, it's
23rd?
November 8th on a Wednesday.
November 8th.
November 8th?
Yeah.
Oh,
And I just wanted to highlight, I believe one of the years they went up and they attended both, we thought it covered both requirements of the law, but they had some pushback. Do you
One of
remember?
them was, the one year was, we had a new, I think it was Danny when he first got elected. A new trustee coming in has 2 requirements for
Yes.
that year. Trustees that have been here for more than their first year only have the 1 requirement. And this training will satisfy that.
So yeah, there are 2 trainings you need to do each year that should be covered at the UASD meeting. One is the Open and Public Meetings Act training.
Right.
That needs to be done every year. and then the other is just the standard board training. And those are both typically covered. When you get whenever you're elected to the board or re-elected, then you need to do the new board training. All this stuff is available online, but going to the conference checks all the boxes.
But I think there was, the state auditor made some,
Yeah, so last year we all went to the conference, right? So I was told that the USD conference would fulfill all your requirements, and then, I had to ask the state auditor something, and the certificates that we received did not specify open board meetings, training, and trustee annual training. It didn't specify that on the certificates. It just said you attended and went to the trainings. And so I checked with the state auditor's office. I said, hey, this doesn't say specifically what you guys were trained in. And he kind of wanted me to get a new certificate. And then I went to, what's his name with
LeGrand.
UASD,
LeGrand.
LeGrand. I said, hey, the state auditor's telling me this. He says, just save your agenda
Oh.
and the material that was discussed and how they were, what they were
And
trained on.
that starts at 1 o'clock, right?
Yes,
Yeah, so our,
and that would suffice.
so when you
we're
do an
okay.
audit, that's what they look at on the audit.
They
don't
look at the certificate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Good.
I will save all these from here on out forever, and you guys will still get your certificate.
Okay.
And we'll be okay.
So our day to go would be that Wednesday, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's in the morning at 8 o'clock?
No, at 1 o'clock.
No, it
1
starts at 1 o'clock.
And just as, if you ever have to do it online, you should get a certificate after you
Yes.
complete that. Make sure that you keep a record for your copy, for your records, and then you send one to Leisle.
Okay, so last year, when I did it, I had one, and then we sent one over to Jordan Valley Water, because they needed one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So if you attend, you'll be good.
Okay.
You'll get a certificate there. If you do it online, there would be a certificate that pops out after the training.
Okay.
But just, so you do one or the other, and then, like I said, there's a conference agenda item down below on the agenda that you guys can tell me.
And that's on the 8th, and that's a Wednesday, right?
Yeah, that's a Wednesday, I looked it up.
so they can make the
Okay.
certificates.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
So next is, the employees are all working on their performance evaluation, managers are getting their information together. We'll present that to the board, I think, in November. As far as the election, it's going on behind the scenes. The vote by mail ballots have been mailed out to like the overseas people. And the vote by mail, like our locals, it's being mailed out by the 31st of October. I did put an attachment with a sample ballot that they sent me for our election behind the compliance report. Those are just sample ballots. That's how they'll look when they get them. And that is my report, unless you have any other questions.
Nope, I have no, you guys, does the board have any other questions?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Leal. Okay, Andrew.
So, two things that I always wanted to let the board know about. One is we held some interviews with some staff engineers over the last couple weeks. We had 2 of them come in yesterday and meet with general manager and district engineer and myself, and they were both impressive candidates. I think we were waiting until this morning to hear back from the district engineer, so we'll probably have to give a little bit more information as we gather that information. You got anything to add on that?
No, I was impressed with both, and so I think we're to the point where he could make a recommendation to move forward, and we'll present that to the board, most likely next board meeting.
And then the next thing is, Mr. Chair, we have the Halloween celebration coming up for the city, October 28th. You've seen the information on that. You got me the timing on it. And we're just looking for some direction if the board would support our employees attending again this year.
I'm fine with that. Are you fine with that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's just more or less like a communication Todd, that is the 28th, is it correct? Yeah, 4 to 6.
I know that there was a great turnout last year and our staff had an enjoyable time being there, so we appreciate your guys' support on that. And that's it for the HR report.
Thank you so much. Okay, let's move on to item I about the water and sewer availability.
Okay, will you pull up the Chipotle?
Yeah.
So, this is something Trevor would typically present on, but I think it's fairly straightforward, these two. The first one is Chipotle that looks at coming in on 8400 West over in Arbor Park. This is on about 3600 South. If you can pull up the map, Andrew, just if you'll scroll to that. I think it's the next sheet, and
Do you want to?
yeah, that's right there. So that's Arbor Park Drive.
Did you get a map? Oh, I got it.
Can you see the
I don't have a map.
map on there? There's water and sewer service fronting this project and secondary water service. So I think this is fairly straightforward, and we recommend it will just primarily be laterals.
It's that piece of ground.
What's that?
I don't see any
It's that piece that you,
main extensions
there's the firehouse.
or need for any fire lines, so it'll just be water and sewer services and a secondary water service, because it's all available to them. Unless the board has any concerns or questions.
Todd, do you have anything you want to add to this? Okay.
I personally am excited, I like Chipotle.
We're never gonna get no sit-down place out here, obvious. Okay, do you want to make a motion to approve
Yes,
Chipotle's? I'm sorry.
read it exactly right. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the water and sewer availability for Chipotle located at 3601 South, 8400 West.
I'll second that.
Been motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let's move on to number 2.
All right,
The sub-
yeah, the next one is called 2122 Magna Subdivision Development. It's located at 2122 South, 7200 West, right on the corner there across from the junkyard. It's actually in that basin, so there will be some modifications needed. I'm sure they're gonna have to over excavate and bring in some fill, and bring that site up, in order to be able to accommodate a development there. You can kind of see from the image that a lot of the stormwater collects.
Was this actually a storm drain
Detention, yeah.
retention?
I don't know if it was officially,
Yeah.
but that's where a lot of the water collects.
Accumulated, yeah.
I know you'll find that on really bad storm events, the city, I think it's Salt Lake City,
Salt Lake City's on.
comes down across the street right in front of that junkyard and
Car-mart.
have to pump out
This is that.
water and get it out of there because there's so much water that collects.
Yeah, it's a holding spot.
I don't think it's not a homes, it's not homes, it's going to be industrial.
So who's across the street? I forgot. Who?
The one on the north side?
Yeah, on the east side.
Oh, yeah, Kilgore.
That's Kilgore, okay. And then this is, okay, and then that road is the one that they're eventually gonna clean out and take 72 all the way to 80.
Yeah, that's the
Okay,
guy.
and this is that
Okay.
part that's all a mess.
Yeah.
So this is gonna be a subdivision,
It's not a residential, it's industrial.
industrial, okay,
Oh,
okay.
The junkyard, yeah, that is a junkyard.
Water-
Is that, are you sure that's Kilgore on the corner there?
Well, Kilgore is,
Yeah,
on
this
the
is,
corner there, there's
this is a
Jones.
recycle place. It's a
There's Jones.
construction,
yeah, there's,
Jones has that
materials or
corner.
something.
Jones has,
yeah, Kilgore's one lot behind.
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
Jones.
Yeah, I've tried to buy some material from the guys. It's pretty nice looking, but Nobody answers the phone, nobody's there.
Yeah, there you are. Water and sewer is fairly straightforward. There's a water main in 72 and 2100. There's also sewer main in both of those streets. Secondary water is not currently available, so they'll be able to put, they'll have to put dry lines.
That's a lot of material they've put in there. That's a whole.
But Trevor feels confident that we can serve this development and recommends it to the board for consideration.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to propose water sewer availability for the Magna subdivision, 2122 South, 7200 West.
I'll second that.
Been motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's move on to item J, projects and award agreements.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, there's an insert within the packet that talks about the equipment that we'll be replacing as part of this project. This has been a project that's 2 years in the making. It's very complex in that when chlorine originally moved from the original operator's office in the early 80s to where it resides now in the chlorine building, that equipment is essentially all original. So it's obsolete. So this updates all of that equipment. Part of this project expands to be able to chlorinate the reuse facility as needed. There's a new scale so that we can weigh and monitor chlorine usage as it goes to the different parts of the facility. When we've had issues with this chlorine equipment, just based on its age, there are no replacement parts. So this has been a team effort working with existing consultants that are part of the reuse design, ensuring that any upgrades we do for the plant also work with the future projects. So like I said, this has been a detailed study, and a lot of thoughts gone into this, about 2 years worth. So we're really excited about this, and we'd appreciate the support and the approval.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions from the board?
So they're just replacing all the equipment inside the building. We're not building a new building or anything.
Correct. No new buildings. This is just replacing existing equipment and adding some new equipment.
So the heating and air conditioning firmware, it just rots out terribly in that. Is that still the same thing?
The heating, it's one of those wall-mounted heating units. And that's,
Unit heater?
yeah, and that's fairly new.
No air conditioning?
No air, no AC, no, just open vents on the sides of the building.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the wastewater treatment chlorine building equipment replacement and rehabilitation project to Aqua Environmental Services in the amount of $88,381.
I'll second that.
Been motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, administration.
Mr. Chairman, one option I'd maybe throw out for the board on this, these item 1 and item 2, there may be some interest of the board in having some personnel discussion in closed prior to finalizing that discussion, so
That's a good idea.
Let's just
if you'd
table
like
it
to table
temporarily.
those two
Okay.
before we finalize
That's good.
that. Okay.
So we're gonna we're gonna table 1 and 2
Till after close.
till after close. Do you wanna make that motion, Jeff?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to postpone or to table item 1 and 2 until after closed discussion.
I'll second that.
Been a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, in-house inspection position.
Okay, Trevor has, and Andrew and myself have, and along with some, there's been some discussion with the management team and the board about bringing the remaining inspection needs in-house. I think we're prepared to move that direction. And Andrew, do you want to highlight a couple of the findings
Yeah,
and
so-
recommendations?
As you know, with some of the discussions that we've had and board's interested in having us look into it, Trevor and I started doing a little bit of evaluation on things. Some of the stuff is budgetary, so we found that the current year, we're budgeted $110,000 for consultant inspection expenses. Last year we paid as much as $170,000 in consultant inspection. What we would anticipate for total compensation for a new employee that we'd be hiring to replace whatever employee from the union moved into the inspector position would be between $83,000 to $104,000 total compensation with their salary and benefits included.
How much was that, did you say?
$83,000
To 104.
to $104,000, depending on where you brought them in at. An entry-level person would be the $83,000. If you brought somebody in with as much experience as you could find, you'd be closer to the 100.
So would this not be a union job?
This would be a union job. So what we'd be anticipating is that likely somebody from our union would slide over to this inspector job, and then we would replace that person's position.
Okay, so I have a question here on this. So what are we gonna do about, first off, before I even look at this, what are you gonna do on Fridays? I wanna know how you're gonna serve the builders on Friday, because we use Epic Engineering
We use
on
a
Friday.
contractor
We
to
use a
cover
contractor
Friday.
on Friday, so, you know, like I said, we work for this town. So before I even wanna approve this, I wanna know where we're going with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, should we be moving back to 8 hours a day for 5 days a week to get the coverage for the contractors for all the construction and stuff?
That's certainly an option. I think in a lot of ways we've benefited from having the full flexibility. Obviously, having somebody that's available to work longer days is been a benefit on the 4 days of the week. And then we have had the benefit of having a consultant available to cover any Friday work. We have, according to Trevor and our existing inspector, if they're coordinating properly with the contractors, they don't feel like that should be an issue for them. If the contractors
That's in a
aren't-
perfect world, though.
Yeah,
Because I know about construction very well, so I know how it all works. That's in a perfect world.
So we have the two examples, and there's not a lot of overlap on the work that so we have an inspector that's available 4/10s, 7 to 6, and then we have an inspector that's got available for the 5-day work week. They don't do a lot of cross inspections, so they're both able to manage those two schedules successfully. Each model works, but it does require different expectations from the contractor.
so are you gonna pull somebody, take Monday off and work Friday? How
We
you-
could do that. That could be an option to be able to address that.
Because when we left that, it was on the table and I didn't hear a resolution.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, so we need to decide if. we're
Before
gonna-
I even really look at this, I wanna figure this out, because I'm not gonna approve something on this till we figure it out,
And
because
that would be fine to have
because
Trevor.
I have people complaining to us now about setting meters on Fridays and all that stuff, and I understand it. A good superintendent should know what his plan is, but yet they're hard to find out there. And I mean, you know, and the lack of their planning isn't our fault, but we also provide a service to this town that we need to be able to be available on a Friday for this kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
because the contractors are so unpredictable.
Well, we can support, I think that's fair, and I think, obviously, we'd prefer to have Trevor here for this conversation to be able to.
let's
give his
table it.
input, So we can certainly
Yeah,
understand.
because they don't like to leave an open hole and stuff and they wait for the inspection. That means it would be open for the whole weekend. I don't think that's very good.
Okay.
I just, sorry, Mr.
Yes.
Chair, I do just have one comment. I know that, you know, Rob and I work, I don't go out and do the inspection,
Right,
but
right, right.
paperwork and stuff inside the office. When I talk to Rob, I mean, he expresses that, you know, he is able to work with the contractors to do it in
To
those,
schedule everything on.
on those days. Hadco calls to schedule the inspections, and they even, you know, make comment like, well, they've scheduled it for Monday. They know that we're closed, and anyway, I just.
So I have a question here. So wonder if you reached out to all the contractors in the town, okay? Because I think it's only fair, and just say, hey, we work a 4-day work week, and let's see what they come back on. Let's see, I think that's fair.
Good idea.
I think that's fair to send out a letter to all the contractors in the town. And, but then also too, if we do have something that comes up in as emergency, we gotta fill that.
Absolutely.
We've
Well-
got to fill the contractor's
Well, all I'm saying,
request.
I was thinking about this and, I know what it's like to open the hole up and be trying to do a lateral and then have to rely on an inspection. But maybe, if that required a call out, the contractor would pay for the call out. I'm
And they
just
have
saying,
in the past.
that's a possible.
We have made certain
Yeah.
special.
Of course, if you do that, then they'll say, well, can you do it on Saturday too then?
Yeah.
So you gotta be careful, but I'm
Yeah,
just
we can
saying.
A
certainly
lot
get
of it's
that.
timing too with the contractor, and like I said, we work pretty good with our inspectors and everything, it seems to be handled, and I don't think Brett, myself, does very much inspections on Fridays myself.
But if we have to, he's there. And that's the thing that we need to provide the service, because I take a lot of feedback about the 4 10-hour days. And we've been doing that for how many years?
Well, these contractors work 5 days a week, so they don't have, sometimes you just can't schedule around it, but I don't, on the
Mr.
other
Chair,
hand.
a couple things I'd like to add. One, there's a lot of times where these inspections you're talking about and these tie-ins that you're talking about, they're not gonna be able to do them on Fridays with just Epic Inspector. We don't allow tie-ins or shutdowns unless we're fully staffed. So those things are always scheduled Monday through Thursday when we're fully staffed, so we can accommodate any emergencies. And then the last thing I would say is, we've got 2 contractors working down at the sewer plant right now, and both of those contractors do Monday through Thursday 410s. So Fridays, they take the time to stay in their offices, get the paperwork lined up for the next week of inspections and things like that. So I think the 410 work week for these contractors is becoming more common than we think.
Well, I wouldn't like to ask the contractor what he thinks. I'd like to say, do you have any pushback on this is the way it's gonna be? And then we can move forward.
Okay, yeah, we can get that.
Yeah, that's an
That's
easy
a good
question.
idea.
I wouldn't want them to tell us what, but just say, this is what we're gonna be doing, like what you're saying.
And, find out from them what, if it's gonna be a problem, because we gotta provide the service. I
Well,
mean,
we could also say, if it requires, then you will have to bear the cost.
Yeah.
So we could establish a rate that if they had to come out on a Friday.
because in a perfect world, I totally agree with what you're saying, but I deal with contractors all the time, and, this is gonna go this day, well, it's been pushed back 3 days, and I've got one on my phone right now that's supposed to go.
If they go to get a permit though, and it's required to do a tie-in on a Monday through Thursday, I can see that really helps tie things down. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we'll bring that back.
Okay, let's go to the number 4, the district mechanic apprentice position.
Okay, as you know, we've been evaluating this for almost a year now, myself and the operations managers, and there's been some things that we've come across that have led us to believe that this is in the best interest of the district. Some of the things that we realized as we were doing it was probably one of the biggest things is with the workload where it's at as we've grown, we became a bit reactionary with our maintenance rather than preventative. When you're putting out fires, it leads to not being able to respond and do your preventative maintenance to keep our equipment in good health. As we know, with one mechanic, there's times when they go on a hunt or whatever it might be, that with one mechanic leaves the district in kind of a bind. When there's a week-long vacation, we don't have somebody to be able to do the maintenance. We're set up in a way at this point where we have some personnel that's capable of stepping into that role. And this would also allow the district to start planning for the future with some succession planning. And Dallas has a few more things that,
Sure, I can add a little bit. So, you know, Andrew says that we've been evaluating this for about a year, but that's just how long Andrew's been evaluating it. I think Raymond and I and Rial and the management team have been evaluating this for a long time. There's certainly a need. We've got some concerns with a single mechanic and some of the jobs that he does by himself from a safety liability standpoint.
Right.
I think we've done a lot of the heavy lifting in that there's been some budget placeholders in for future positions. We've got a vehicle now that's available. So, 2.5 years ago, when we were hiring a bunch of new people, we've brought candidates on now that have some relevant experience that we haven't had before. So, ultimately, I think this is the direction we want to go. We think there's been a lot of due diligence to this point. We also think that, you know, incrementally, as we get approval and as this starts to develop, we get a better idea of what it looks like. We don't have all the answers today. I don't think we even know all the questions to ask today. I think as, you know, if this position's approved based on the budget that we've set aside, the vehicle that's there and the need, then we get this position filled and, we start to see and evaluate, you know, what kind of tool requirements we are, maybe who he would report to specifically, how that division of labor is divided up. You know, I think until we move past filling this position, there's still gonna be some answers to questions that we don't have yet, and I
Okay.
think that's fair.
So, okay, I think that is fair, but the question I have, I don't want to approve this till I know what the questions are, how you're going to fill this job, and, you know, is the mechanic reliable for the tools? Or, because from what I got told, Bob furnishes all his tools.
Sure.
He's got $150,000 in tools over there.
We
And so I have a question on this. Is the guy that you got that you in here doing, that you're kind of training him as an apprentice, is he the best? I mean, you know, you say you got to train him, but is there somebody out there, if he don't have the qualifications that we're really looking for, and we got to spend all this time training, would it be better to open it up and bring somebody in that has the qualifications that you're looking for?
Yeah.
Because that comes with a cost to the district.
It does.
And I mean, and that's just my deal, but I'm not gonna approve this till I know how this is gonna play out. I mean, if whatever these other two guys wanna do, I'm in favor of, but
Well, he started to bring on the questions. What is it gonna cost to bring a mechanic in? I really personally don't like guys using their own tools, only for one reason, is they get so protective of it. But on the other hand, you don't lend your tools out.
Yeah.
So what is it gonna cost us to bring a guy in to have his own tools so that he's not digging in Bob's toolbox?
Well,
So I
that's,
think-
yeah, that's what, go ahead, Nels.
I think part of the strategy and part of the evaluation, to Mick's point, is, you know, you're correct in that Bob has brought his own tools. And Jeff is also correct in that you become, you know, possessive of your own tools. But what I think as we've evaluated tool strategy is, we don't necessarily want to bring somebody in that's in the same boat as Bob, where he's got his own tools. Because
Right.
then, when he leaves, the district is again without its set of tools.
Sure, absolutely.
This is a great opportunity for
Absolutely.
a transition
And-
period.
Right.
And I'm saying, you guys should come back and say, okay, we're gonna do this, this, and this. We've already supported this, right? We've supported it, but you guys need to come back and say, okay, we bring a guy in. You know, we've got a guy working now. I don't know if he's working out. You know, Mick brings up a good point.
Yeah, it's been a great, so far, it's been a
and the
great,
question I have is, who's this guy gonna answer to? Because I have questions right now, who does Bob Bat answer to? Because we've got some closed door stuff today that I'm gonna bring up that I'm very concerned about. And I blame us for this stuff.
Well, we certainly-
And let me finish.
okay. Yeah.
So, like I said, and I'm not just gonna have you guys bring things and throw it out to us to have us approve something when we don't know what we're really doing yet. I mean, first off, you gotta tell us who the person's gonna answer to, what this guy is gonna do. Now, when it comes to tools, I've checked around, usually every place, mechanic shops, the mechanics provide their own tools.
Right.
So what's it gonna cost us? Cause I spoke with Bob, Bob goes, I'll sell you all my tools.
Yeah,
You know, and he's got some expensive tools there, so holy hell. But like I said, I mean, the board needs to know exactly what you guys want to do, because I feel a lot of times you throw stuff at us and we're not even up to game on it, and I can't approve this at these.
Yeah, let's put a package together of what we need and, what kind of tools are we talking? So you're gonna have some help there. We need to evaluate that.
And is this guy the best that we got? I mean, can he do everything that you want him to do? Or is there somebody out, if he doesn't meet the qualifications just because he works here and he has a piece of paper saying he's a mechanic, can he work on these, does he know how to do all these pumps? I mean, that's something that comes with a cost, and who pays it is the district.
Yeah, I think so certainly we recognize those concerns and we share those same concerns. The nature of an apprentice is someone that comes to learn a trade underneath someone that has experience.
No, I understand that part.
So I think that's part of the challenge that we have, is we think there are people currently in the district that could come in as an apprentice. Certainly, we think.
So I have a question for you there then. Why did we take this guy that you have helping Bob now? Why didn't we open it up for the apprentice job? Internal, why did we just pick him?
We haven't picked him.
Well, he's working.
He's been able to jump in and assist Bob because Bob has been so busy.
And he has a mechanical.
Yeah, I know he has
Been the
that.
natural person.
Couple
that-
things.
It was also one of his goals this year is to get some cross-training with Bob.
Well, and let's take it even back a little bit further. So as we've worked through the quarterly goal evaluations and each manager has brought in their employees, we've said and given other opportunities to the employees. So as each one of our operators have come in, we say, hey, there's potential cross-training opportunities with the water, there's potential cross-training opportunities with the mechanic. And if you have any interest in that, now's the time to say it. And if anybody has shown interest, then they've got a chance to go be with Bob's. Some people have more interest than others, and that's why we've seen the candidate that you're talking about spend more time with him. But it's been equal opportunity.
So have we had anybody besides this guy show any other interest that want to, I mean, have we put out see, and the thing that I question about that, I feel like we should post that because it's a union.
But we don't have any official approval on a position. That's what we're.
Okay, but
That's what's always
I understand that point, but before we can approve it, we need to know what this job's gonna consist of. We need to know who the person's gonna answer to.
And the cost of the
and
tools.
And the cost of the
He's
tools.
gotta have tools.
And the question I have too is, like, for example, when Bob's gone, you got this apprentice, can he do, I mean, he's only limited to do certain things unless I'm wrong.
No, yeah, he's not able to do as much as Bob. That's for sure.
I just think we need to put this stuff together a lot better and then bring it back to the board and say, okay, board, this is what we're gonna do, this is what the tools are gonna cost.
I know there's gonna be a cost in tools, because if he's doing seals or things like that, just minor repairs on pumps and
mean,
things like that.
So this is one of the challenges is, I think we're saying that we want to move forward. Part of the tool cost becomes who is filling the position and do they have tools or not. We could take the approach that we envision this person in that position and they will have a certain set of tools.
But Jeff he wants us to buy the tools and not them to provide their own
And that's
tools.
fine too.
And I'd like,
now I
I'd
think
like
we-
you
I'd like
guys
to
to
see that
decide
before we buy
what
the
you think he
tools
needs for
for this
tools.
guy.
But part of it does come down to the cost is somewhat driven if we're wanting someone that has failed the old model is somewhat what tools they have. That's all. I think what we're saying is we feel confident that there's a need for assistance to the mechanic.
So,
We feel confident that that is something that that position will not be somebody that would be able to do all of Bob's job.
No,
Bob
we knew
came
that.
in not knowing all of
Right,
this.
right, right.
And he learned as pumps, as well as I did. When I came in here, I learned about pumps too, hands-on with other people coming in and doing work for us. And that's just where Bob's got these skills, is hands-on with other people. And
You'd
he's,
probably be using that pump guy probably really a lot down at the sewer plant, I would imagine. You know, that's where the majority of the time would probably be.
If I could add one more thing about the tools, because that's a huge question mark in all of this, and one of our strategies has been, you know, an approval to fill this apprentice position doesn't necessarily come with a lump sum tool purchase right away.
Oh, no.
One of my strategies that we've talked about is, you know, as this apprentice works with the mechanic, they start to figure out what tools we need specifically. We don't wanna run out and buy a bunch of tools we don't need. And we don't wanna buy more than one of the same tool if we don't need to. So we, as operation managers, we're trying to get tools that are specific to our processes, and they stay with the process. So then it doesn't matter who the mechanic is.
Oh, I see. Good, that's a good point.
Why don't you give the, whoever we bring in, an allowance for tools?
Then we end
Well,
up at this,
But,
then we
but
end
he,
up in the same boat where
Mick,
the
he's
district doesn't own
saying,
the
he's
tools.
saying down at wastewater treatment, you go down there to do a job, the tools are there.
Right, right.
But somebody's gotta be
inventory, they're
responsible for the
accountable.
tools, yeah.
And that's part of it, is we don't,
what they're
we don't
saying-
purchase a tool without
We
it
don't
going
want
into
to, we don't wanna
inventory.
come ask for 20,000 in tools when we
No,
don't know
but-
what we're gonna need.
Right,
What
right,
you're
right,
saying is
right.
you need some help here. You wanna bring a guy on and train him. Like when Raymond started, we all started. And there's other people that took that, help, Bob on the mechanic job. I remember when Rob done it, then he got an inspector's job. I think they need some help, here's what they're saying.
Yeah.
And
Well,
there
first,
is
before I
tools-
can help 'em
There is
is-
tools available at the plant and all over that they can use.
And it's not, the point that I've got, Danny, that you're misunderstanding, it's not that I don't wanna help them, I'm saying they need to come to us and tell us how this is all gonna
I'm
work out.
understanding that.
I mean, we need to know who they're answering to and what's their responsibility gonna be. I don't wanna just give this job out to somebody that,
You understand that?
and the guy's just running loose.
Well, right now, we're not proposing any change to the current structure, so this person would be working with Bob, but Bob reports, his direct report is the lead on the
Bob's
construction.
gone, he'd answer that.
His direct report is the lead on the construction crew.
Bob would know.
Oh, okay,
That's currently how it's set up.
okay.
But we do recognize that if we bring on another individual, that may need adjustment in the future.
How long has the guy been there that is helping Bob now?
He's been helping for about 2 months.
2 months?
Yeah, it's been about.
great.
So is it about time to evaluate him, or do we need to wait another month to evaluate?
Well, it's twofold. So like I said, this is very complex, and everything you're saying makes a lot of sense, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate your feedback. So what, the other thing that we're running into is anytime we take one operator and send them to cross-train on another crew, we've got to hold the field here. So, this apprentice has been working with Bob every day for 2 months. So we've had to hold the field for 2 months. So, you know, incrementally, we're looking for some progress, but we understand there's still questions. So, Mr. Chairman, if you could give us some direction, you know, there's a lot of boxes to check here. I think one of them we agree is the tools, but one thing that we've proposed is, rather than come with a list of exactly what we wanna buy, we come with a price and say, you know, on this first year, we won't exceed this amount.
Exactly.
And maybe it's $7,500 for the first year, and then that gets us in to buy some of the tools he'll use every day and some of the specific tools. And then the following budget year, maybe we do another one, a do not exceed price again. That way, you know, we're strategically purchasing tools, and it's not a lump sum of things that we don't necessarily need. And we make this purchase as the position takes shape, you know, because like you said, Mr. Chairman, we don't have all the answers.
Well, no, and I'm just saying, my concern is I wanna know how this is all gonna break down. Who's answering to who? You know, like, we've got that service truck and we've got the new truck.
Right.
So,
And so the question I'm saying, so how are you gonna, I mean, the guy's definitely needs to be trained on these pumps, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yes.
I mean, so he's got that, I mean, and, you know, I've got some pet peeves around here right now that I'm concerned about. And, it's like, we've got all this stuff, but I got told yesterday, I'm so busy, I can't do this, and this. Well, when I take heat from the public, we're gonna do this.
Well, I think that's the challenge that we're in. We know that there's a need. We would propose no changes currently to the way.
So are you
the
telling me that
structure-
Bob answers to Steve Clark?
Yes.
Okay, to Steve, I mean, what kind of a paperwork does he give to Steve every day to let, I mean, does Steve know exactly what his plan is for the day?
Yeah, he talks to, lets him know where he's at, what jobs he's on. Bob has his schedule. So Bob goes out in his routine, what he does, and he'll tell Steve, and most of the time he'll inform it to me, hey, I'm on this, or I'll direct him somewhere.
No, because, you know, you got your plate full, so that's why you got your, like you say, you got your lead man, but I don't know, I just,
The part of the reason we didn't come in with a change is we think that there could be some benefit to some changes of the organization in the future. But we're not, we think that's gonna be better, we'll know that better as we get into this further. And we'll be able to make, if we think any recommendations need to change, we will make that. But it can certainly work under the current structure. Will it be ideal? We don't know that yet, and that's what we're communicating to the board. That position is a brand-new position that is going to become, we're gonna understand more as we do it.
But
And
we're
as we
doing it
fully
now.
commit to it.
But we're
We
doing it now.
aren't fully committed to it.
But we are doing it now.
We are doing it
Now,
now.
Dallas bring up something that I really would like to understand. Do we have tools at the wastewater treatment plant to do the functions that we need to do there?
Some, it's minimal,
Some.
they're real specific, so, you know, daily maintenance, routine maintenance, preventative maintenance, we have a lot of that stuff. We don't have the real specific three-prong pullers, you know, we don't have the lifting apparatuses, things like that, we don't have a welder, we don't have, you know, things like that, but, you know, those are just some of the things that Bob has always had.
What about the EDR plant?
That's pretty much, tools that they have is just pretty much to maintain the stacks, and pretty much that's it. Bob brings the tools and works on everything.
Yeah, see, the thing I'm worried about is if you bring a guy on and we may end up having to get a utility truck because they like to carry all the tools with them. But then a person has to be responsible for that. And that can be an apprentice, and you don't have to buy all the tools at once. You buy them in stages.
Right.
Yes.
But, I mean,
The reality of how this will work is most of the time that Bob and anytime the apprentice is gonna be working on the new equipment for quite a while,
Yeah,
he's gonna be with Bob,
right.
using Bob's tools under Bob's direction.
Yeah.
When the apprentice is working on his own, Bob will have lined him out, or he is doing more pure mechanic vehicle maintenance,
Yes, fleet,
where we could get a much smaller assortment of tools.
yeah, not as big as bigger tools, like say the EDR, tool-wise, you'd be buying big tools, 1.5 inch.
yeah, I'm not worried about specialty tools, but I'm still thinking that we probably ought to have some more tools at both locations, plus here in the shop. You know, I'll tell you, I just don't know how that is, but when I had my own Snap-on tools, I earned them in school, and then the other plumbing guys would come in and they'd start helping themselves to my tools. I'm telling you what, and I guarantee you Bob's the same way. And so we need to, all I'm saying is in this situation, we need to alleviate that feeling that Bob might have towards his own tools.
Sure.
And I don't know how to do that easily, but I think putting more tools and make them responsible for those areas where the tools are, you've got 3 areas.
Yeah.
And just like a welder, we can put one on a trailer to make it more portable so a guy can hook onto it and take it somewhere if he needs to. And then that makes it more versatile than having the big truck to just pull a welder over. So I'm saying there's some things you guys can come up with that you need that we could make it a little more portable, because otherwise we're gonna end up putting another utility truck together with tools on it. And that makes it pretty vulnerable, but it doesn't make it for Roman filter, for the EDR plant or wastewater treatment. So it's whatever you guys think, but I think you need to have tools on site without somebody having to load them in a truck and bring them down. So maybe you guys ought to come up with that. I don't think these guys, the board would have any problem with that. But come back and let's put something together, what you guys think. Basic tools that you need to do anything there. I know the specialty tools are kind of tough, but I'm talking about just the normal thing.
So the question I have, and this is going away from the tool part, I understand part, but I just want to make sure that we have, maybe have a sign-up sheet, saying who wants, I guess you look at his qualification. We've got this guy that has some qualification. He has a certificate being a mechanic, but you're saying there's other people that fit that,
That have the experience.
that has the experience. All I'm saying is I don't want it to come back and have to haunt us. Cause like, hey, I wanted that job, Clint. Here's my name on the board and I feel like I got as much experience, plus I got more seniority than this guy. I'm just saying, I don't mind doing this, but I want to do it the right way.
Absolutely.
If that makes sense. Cause like I said, I've heard a little bit of chatter out there and I have some concerns with deals, but it's just like on the tools. I agree on the tools. What you do is you need to actually see what we really need to do and how, again, do we make people be accountable for tools?
Yeah.
They're not that expensive for your facility where you're operating stuff. You need them. And so I think it's a good investment to have them on site so somebody doesn't have to pack them and bring them around. That's all I'm saying.
So do you guys want to bring this back for approval next month, or we can have a special meeting on it? What do you guys want to do? Same with the in-house inspector position.
Now we can bring them back.
You want to bring
I
it,
think you
bring
need to
them
canvass a little bit better, make sure.
just so we don't have any come back and say, well, this, you know how it all works.
Because you're telling us now that we bring an apprentice on, we make a position, he's gonna have to get with other people, are gonna have to train them on their own experience, because they know what they're doing, guys at your plant.
and here we go, I'm gonna go a step further, and you're gonna probably slap me. Do we bring on an apprentice and kind of put him through school? There's another option.
Well, if nobody wants to do it, then we can go that position, it's up to you guys.
But I'm just saying, this is just something that, you want our guys to be qualified and all that stuff. And if you got a guy out there that might have a better personality, might have a better work ethic, but he does have some experience, do we wanna put him in through some, cause we offer schooling. Is that something that we wanna look at? But then on the same token, if you do that, then you're gonna have to get with legal counsel and say, hey, guess what? You take these classes that we pay for, then you're stuck here for this many years.
Well, I
Pay it back.
Or you pay it back.
I know right now, we would never want to hire somebody that works at an automotive shop to come in and do the kind of work we're doing.
No.
I'm pretty sure this is industrial,
Yeah, it's way too advanced.
way
for that.
industrial. So I'm not sure you're gonna find anybody that's gonna be,
This is like Bob learned a lot of this. Bob went to school for diesel mechanic.
Right.
And came in here and going from pumps to his thing,
yeah.
it was a learning curve with him with contractors, like I said. And it's a hands-on. I think whoever takes his position, it'll be a hands-on learning with Bob, the steps that he's learned through these years.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you straight out, when I got out of high school, I was gonna go to Wyoming and take that institute up there, and my dad says, you wanna go there and spend all this money, it was a lot of money back then, I think $4,000, it's more than that now. So he said, I'll put you on a backhoe, and I'll pay you, I think at the time it was $6 an hour, but German made, no, he actually $12 an hour, and German made 12. And I'm going, no, I'd rather run the backhoe. So what I'm saying is learning to run equipment and stuff was more valuable at the time. And then I ended up going to plumbing school at night. So I'm just saying, you guys have got a very unique situation for a mechanic. I hate to call it a mechanic, but it's more of a
Service
repairman.
tech.
It's a serviceman.
Yeah.
So
And that's gonna
if we
end
can
up
do
coming
it
with
without
a-
buying another utility truck and do it that way and have it all tooled up, let's see what you guys can come up with. And let's put tools in places that we don't have to haul them down there.
And I'd like you guys, your management team to get together and just things we talked about today, just And again, guys probably don't have all the answers either. I mean, but I can't sit here and approve something when I don't have an idea how this is all gonna work.
We've supported the position.
Yes,
and
we have.
Leisle has backed it up with funds, so
Right.
she's got us covered. So you guys just need to put a plan together. Okay?
And if we need to do this sooner than later, I don't have a problem doing a special board meeting for an hour or whatever. If you want, if it's that critical
Yeah.
and you guys want to get this going. But I also think that you need to put out something to see who's out there that might be interested in this. And are we gonna offer any kind of a schooling? I mean, that's something that we have to decide right now. If we get somebody, I
You
mean.
know, I don't know of any school that you can go for
Okay,
industrial
okay,
repair.
okay.
Does anybody ever heard of that? I've never.
Not off the top of my head. There's schooling that teaches you about pumps and
Yeah.
the way pumps work and things like that.
And your reps will teach you that too, but they'll come out there and help
Yeah, the
you.
reps will help us
That's
with
exactly
that.
how Bob learned.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've got a lot of support from manufacturers.
Oh, yeah.
One thing, and I might need you to chime in here, Adrian, refresh my memory a little bit, but when we first started asking for people that wanted to cross-train, we had proposed a sign-up sheet, and then when we talked to our union stewards, they advised us not to do that because it wasn't a formal, it wasn't actually anything formal yet, and the position hadn't been approved, so we did, you make a good point, Mr. Chairman, we did explore that. And then we decided we do want a paper trail to make sure that everybody knows they've had equal opportunity. And I think that's when we ended up.
so let me ask the legal counsel, so if we approve this today, to go ahead and move forward on an apprentice position, now, that's all we're gonna move on, okay? It's just to approve the apprentice position. Then they could open it up. And now the lead man, or not lead man, but the shop stewards say, okay, we've actually opened this job up. Now we post it to see if there's anybody out there that has any experience more than what we got now. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Is that fair? Then if we have to have a special meeting if you're in a hurry to move forth, put your guys' homework together. We'll have a meeting, you bring it back to the board for approval. And if we agree on what you guys want to do, we'll finish approving the position. But I think we could move today, am I right, Nathan? We could move on just approving the position, am I right?
Yeah, what I see is you have a job description. So what I understood you're asking for is, this is what we think we need this person to do. You have a proposed salary range.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the management stuff can be worked out later, right? That's what you're seeking?
I will point out, Mr. Chair, that as Nathan said, there is a job description that is requiring for whoever does work here, that is gonna put in, will need to meet these things. They need to have some technical expertise and understanding of the pumps. They need to be able to mechanically problem solve. I believe that there's some experience required in it. And then at that stage, it goes off of the seniority list for everybody that meets this standard
Okay,
that's in this.
I'm fine with that.
In this
Okay.
job description.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Let's give you the things you guys need to get this thing going. Keep it going.
Well, we understand and we recognize the board's concerns and we share those concerns. This is a unique one for us. And so I think you're seeing that reflected in this discussion.
Yes.
But I also want to make sure this apprentice guy is not answering to Bob.
Right. That's not.
Bob, okay, I just want to make sure that isn't how it's set up.
I will say, Mr. Chair, that currently on this, that is what was initially put on there when we drafted this a couple of weeks ago. But as we've discussed more about it, that had changed. That they'll be
Because as soon as you
they'll
do
be
that, now that
responding to-
becomes a lead man.
Yeah, they'll be responding to Steve.
Yeah, that's a
And
good.
so
Okay, let's just,
that is an edit that we were
okay,
ready to make.
okay, let's just approve, for the,
Moving forward. So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to move forward on our district mechanic, I don't like to use that word, how about service person?
Okay,
For our water service person, apprentice position.
Second that.
been motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Lee Isle.
All right.
Wait, do we have a vote?
Oh,
We had a second.
Sorry.
oh, sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
We didn't do that?
Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair and Board. It's that time of year again. We've put together a tentative budget for the year 2024. And it will be for public inspection 7 days before the budget hearing, which we have scheduled for November 16th. So I just want to do a broad overview, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's totally, hey, really fast, I know we're probably not gonna, we're not there yet, but did you, put in the budget for like if, for another inspector?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanna make sure,
So that's what I would appreciate from all of you during the discussion. It's kind of hard to go line by line. People get going to sleep and it's just numbers. So if you have a general feel and other questions on exactly what you're looking for, then I can answer what we've got in here. So, but just to begin, if you would please just go to the budget summary 2024, it's page 1.
yep,
That's kind of in more detail. Follow me actually to page 2 if you would.
okay,
So this page is a big overview of all these numbers, their totals. So start with the capital fund sources. Sources are obviously where we think we're gonna receive our money from. So from all the revenue and expenses for 2024, we estimate a net income of $15,352,000.
okay,
And then in here, we also have put grant revenue. We know we've been awarded 4.9 to help us with the reuse project.
Right.
We know we've been awarded 100,000 to help us with the lead and copper, and we can apply for more eventually. But I haven't put more in there for lead and copper. We've been approved through Congress, not approved through Congress, but a representative is gonna,
It's in the proposed budget to
Thank you.
for congressional approval.
yeah, for 1.2 million. And then I put in 35,000 from Jordan Valley for some conservation grants. We haven't applied for them yet, but, so that would be grant revenue. The estimated impact fees reserves, that's what we have on hand today, 10 million. Actually, that's the projects that we are proposing to use impact fees for, excuse me. We have 11 million of impact fees on hand today. And then, when we were going through the projects and the O&M amounts, there's a need for about 10 million in a loan, bond, or however else we can get some assistance. So that's our capital fund source, a total of 42,407,000. And then the uses, the next paragraph are uses. We've contracted for projects this year that we don't anticipate paying for until next year. And that today, we have 5,111,000 left to pay on contracts that we've approved and that we're in the process of.
And we can carry that over?
Yes, because we're gonna spend it next year.
Okay.
We have to, we've contracted, we've signed agreements and stuff, so. The proposed new projects on this budget for 2024 add up to 43,147,000.
Wow.
So the total of those uses is 48 million. So as you can see, our projected capital sources of 42 million is less than our outlays of 48 million.
Yeah, we're a little short.
So then we have to show something coming out of reserves
Okay,
of 5.8 million, and that would balance our budget.
okay. Oh, I see. Cool.
To go through all the projects, I mean, Trevor
You know,
isn't ill today, but go ahead.
yeah, well, you're fine, you know, just go through what we need to go through and
Yeah.
what we need to see, and if we have any questions, we can,
I think the biggest, Clint, maybe help me out here. The biggest point that we wanna make is each year we go to our master plan and say, okay, this project is projected for this year, next year, and we've been really good about sticking with our master plan. And this year, with the projects that are in the master plan and ones we're doing now, the biggest point I'd like to make is we will have to bond or get loans to cover them, or the projects are not gonna be able to be done. We've trimmed it down a lot this year, to phase those projects in, like, for instance, do design this year, and that's all we're showing in the budget, but if we do design, then of course we wanna move. One of the big projects that we had to not cut, but cut down to just design this year was the, West Side Sewer Line, trunk line.
So,
That's just an example.
and I don't know if I can say this here, and if I can't, just stop me. But, so we cut our budget a little bit on the stuff that we've been talking about, correct? About
That we've approved.
purchase stuff as of land.
So there is some, yes, there is some of the key priorities.
Okay?
Um,
And that's
In
built,
here.
and that's why
That's in
our
here.
cost has been, that's why we've cut back, right? To be able to fund,
Yeah.
if we can get, okay.
yes,
That makes
but
sense.
not all of them.
Okay,
The ones
yeah,
that were
okay.
less of a priority
Okay, okay,
were assumed not to be included in this.
okay.
Um,
So, for example, on one of our projects that we're wanting, would we have to pull from our reserves, I would think, to, okay, then would we pay back that reserve the following year, or, I mean,
I would be in hopes to do so.
Okay.
Because obviously our bonding, rating has a lot to do with our reserves. Now, in the master plan, they had projected in, just a minute, I'm trying to remember, that in 21 and 23 and 24, that we would have to bond or loan to do the projects in the master plan. So we're, we've actually kept the
done
flow
better, yeah, we've done better than
until
estimated.
2023, but now's the time.
We've been able to do those and keep on track till now, even without bonding or loan money.
Yeah.
okay.
Because of the good management that the Isle's done and the managers.
And in the projects. And,
But,
yeah.
we're to a point where we can't meet that schedule and the target on that master planning, we don't think, without some additional, funding.
Okay.
Or we deplete our reserves, which I don't think anybody feels like they wanna do.
Yeah, no, I don't.
We have to go back to San Francisco like we did before? No.
Maybe.
That's one option. Another option is more of a loan, which is a different process. So we've asked one of our consulting partners to assist us with pursuing the best available, because there might be better, with the bond market as it is, a loan might be a better option right
Yeah.
now.
The state might decide to give us.
They might have better
a
money.
low interest, a low
Really?
interest type loan. But with this.
It just depends
financing-
on the bond
I
market.
have a hard time
Right.
doing that over a bond.
It used to be that way.
I'm sorry, what was
'Cause
that?
We used to be able to get better rates on the bond market, but I wonder now,
I still.
You might
think
feel
that
different.
We would
The
get
bond's a
better,
long-term thing though.
but it's still higher than, 4 years ago.
Oh, sure.
So,
Just a little.
we can explore either
Now's a
option
bad
see
time
what
to be borrowing any money.
Yeah.
Whichever route is the lowest borrowing expense, I think we would wanna
Sure.
pursue.
lowest cost in the district is the.
And
avenue
we're-
that will-
But there are different requirements of bond. Some types of bonds require you to go out and get approval from the public. Some types don't. Some loans don't require that. So there's different considerations
Okay.
for the
So
funding.
we're pursuing that now.
If we did, this is like way forefront here, but if we did bond again, we would have to have an election. We've maxed out the approved bonding limit that we had. So it would be an election for a bond. But, some of the financing that we're working with AE2S on, Marie, correct me if I'm wrong, there's more availability for water projects than sewer projects. So is what Trevor tells me.
If you're not a rural community,
Okay,
that's generally true.
okay.
There's
So a
some,
lot-
there is
most
some
of it's
more if
from-
you are
will be
rural
sewer.
for wastewater, I think in our view, but, there's still sources out there and they're still
Sure.
funding through the water quality, so.
And I think one of our bonds, I don't think it's gonna become paid off next year, but there is one of them that will be paid off, I think, in 5 years. So that's a good thing.
Okay.
So anyway, we'll kind of go through the options that we'll have, but
How many what?
for now, this is the tentative budget. Sorry, my page went skiwa and I don't know where I'm at here. Here we go.
So how much was the sewer project we cut back on, Leon?
The total we had in the budget, for that one specific, the west side trunk line was 3 million.
But that was only one section of it.
Was it for
Okay.
future sewer?
It's a,
Yeah, go ahead.
so it's a multi-year project. Essentially, the nuts and bolts of it is a new sewer line from the treatment plant almost to the high school. So it's planned out over several years.
I remember
We
that.
did open it up earlier for this year, and the pricing that came back, we didn't love. So we've tried to strategically, combine it with other projects or wait for material pricing to come down, but, I just don't know that we'll be able to keep up with it, you know, if we didn't do much of it this year, it just compounds to next year, so we're looking at other strategies.
So,
Wow, that's tough.
so you guys have gone through and the stuff that you think we can hold back off, you've backed back on. But now by doing that,
We're gonna be
When we-
behind.
but when we go to do it, it's gonna cost us more money.
You can, that's potentially true. You could argue maybe we get pricing back into a more reasonable
I don't think materials are
as-
gonna come down.
as,
I don't
the
see
market.
materials come down.
But there is truth to that. The thing that we will say is, we don't think we would be behind on our overall schedule. It's just that we may need to make a larger project
Okay.
to be able to catch up. Rather than doing one per year,
Stage
we
it.
might need to do a bigger project at the
Okay.
end.
Okay.
Yeah.
They
And I don't
always
think
ask us that, Leon, when we go to do a bond, they're saying, what are you gonna use the money for?
we'll be
Right?
able to tell them.
Yeah.
And you know, the projects in the master plan, obviously, they're not projects that we're just trying to create. They are definitely needed.
One of the big impacts of that sewer project is with the gateway, coming online, and then once the Ivory development on the other side, we start reaching a point where we need to divert some of that sewer flow around the existing main, so we're bypassing, down 9200, if you remember, we're gonna
So
hit.
we're not overloading.
8800, that one that's in 8800 was one of the key diversions, and so we still have some time, but we need to keep it moving forward.
And just to continue, there was a discussion last year, or earlier this year in June or July, about the certified tax rate. That's a little bit of an option. I built a matrix so that when our expenses hit a certain point, then we could rationalize a tax increase. The tax increase isn't gonna get us millions. It's gonna get us 300,000, you know.
That's it.
Just something to keep in the back of your mind.
Okay.
On page
We'll just get me right, get ready.
4 of the budget, it's just a total summary of everything again. It's just put in a different format. If you go down to the second section, it says adopted capital facilities projects.
Right.
It shows water division, we're proposing 23.3 million for the water. The sewer, 10.8, admin, 189,000, and secondary, 8.7, so there's the total 43 million.
Okay.
Now, if you keep going down in pages, you'll see it broken down, you know, project by project.
Yeah, I went through it and I thought it looked fairly decent.
I kind of wanted to, well, this is tentative.
Right.
If you guys would go through it, and please call me, Clint, whoever, if you have more questions.
Yeah,
I mean, I
okay.
can go through this.
Yeah, I've actually went through and read it the other night, looking at it, well, she's a couple nights, and I thought it looked fairly decent. I mean, and I'll go back through it again. If I see anything, then I'll reach out to you, but,
So on page 10 is a whole summary of the projects that we
Right.
are planning on doing. Something just popped out at me. I'll have to check that out. The West Side Collection Project 1B is 3 million. Thought we cut that down. I'll check on that, but, yeah, go through it, give me a call if you
Okay.
have questions. If you have questions right now, go ahead, we can go through them. If you wanna go through more detail, I can. Otherwise, that's my presentation and.
okay?
Well, the thing that would help, Clint, when I sat in on those forecasts and they had those charts showing sewer, water, that would be really helpful to look at that. And I don't remember, I don't think I took anything out, but those charts that show where we're short at as the years go on,
Yeah.
that would be really helpful to
We can show, it's
understand.
that spending plan that he's talking about, our needs year to year, and then when we needed the bonding. You know, our
Like for the master
fund,
plan?
yeah,
Okay,
the spending plan summary.
okay,
You remember that?
yes,
Well, that was in,
I think.
who was it that did,
Bowen and Collins.
Bowen and Collins, yeah.
Okay,
So in the Bowen and Collins thing that I sat in, they had forecasts that they could show where we were, if we didn't do anything, what would happen, or where we fall short.
okay,
That kind of helps when you start looking at your budget project.
I agree.
So this stuff that I'm looking at, like, right here on some like the basement furniture, you know, that stuff, is that stuff we can just hold off on? I mean, just say bag it? I mean, we're looking at a new table here that's $15,000. I mean, you know, bag that. I mean, you know, replace chairs for boardrooms and that. I mean, you're looking at, I mean, this is kind of small items, but it all adds up though, at the end of the day.
That's something that, yeah. that's
I mean, cause like I said, if it, you know, but stuff that,
Some of
Getting
it is,
reupholstered.
some of it we
What
need,
does it cost to get them reupholstered?
probably more than what it costs to buy new.
some of it we would need to house the, you know, some of it downstairs we need, some of it up here we don't.
Yeah, I think downstairs needs to be done. And obviously, remember, these are budget numbers. They can come in less, they can come in more.
Well, I know how you, yeah, I understand that, but I just got looking at some of this stuff, it's like, okay,
Sure,
you know,
And we don't always get every project done either,
no, I know that.
so.
Okay,
So do we need to
no,
make a
we,
motion
so all we have to do,
on a
no,
tentative?
No, you do need to approve, just so as a reminder of how the budget process works.
Right.
The purpose of what Leisle's doing is, here is our draft budget.
right,
Now, are you comfortable with us presenting it to the public at the budget hearing?
right, but the numbers could change though.
With any
Well,
corrections.
what we need,
You're right.
so what we need to do is, if you want Leisle to make changes to the budget now, well, there's two ways to do it. Once we notice this budget up for the public hearing, the public needs to make a comment on what we've noticed.
Right,
And if you
right.
have additional changes too, you can come to that board meeting. We'll take public comment on what we approve today, and then we can make changes to the budget at that time based on public comment, or if you have changes at that time. But what we can't do is approve this budget, set the hearing date, notice up this budget, then make changes to that
Right,
budget
right,
and
right.
present something different to the public.
Oh,
Agreed,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
But I don't think we have anything to change, do we, right now?
The only thing I want to check on is that 3 million. Looked funny to me now.
So can we hold
I will
off on
check on
that?
that.
Can we hold off on that, then have a special meeting for that and these other two things?
No, what I would suggest is you approve the tentative budget, it's a draft.
Yeah, she can make changes
Yeah.
before we present.
No.
No.
We have to approve the tentative budget today,
Right.
so we
As it
have
is.
time to notice it up for the hearing. But we can come prepared to make further changes after we take public comment.
Oh, okay.
So what
And that's what we have
done.
normally done.
We've done that in the past.
Okay,
It's just procedurally, it's like, what we need to do is we need to present a draft. It doesn't need to be perfect, it doesn't need to be final, we just need to present a draft with enough time for the public to have a chance to review it and
Okay.
come informed to the hearing. Once we've taken their public comment on what we've presented, we can make whatever changes to this budget you want.
Okay,
So
okay.
I think, Mick, what you're saying, you guys want some more time to look at it, that's fine, but we can make those changes after we take public
Right,
comment.
right, okay.
okay.
But I think the resolution 2023, which is the next agenda item, will address the motions that we need. Is that
Right.
correct? Nathan?
Yes, yeah, so, I mean, we don't have to have a written resolution adopting the tentative budget, but I think it's good practice, so that there's a record that we've done it, because it is a statutory requirement.
Okay, so, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the tentative budget for 2024.
Second that.
In motion second, all in favor? Aye.
So, we need to read this resolution, don't we?
Yeah, because it's gonna be published at,
Yeah, will you give him a copy of the
That'll be on
Yes.
November 16th. So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-04, adopting the district's 2024 tentative budget, and to hold the 2024 budget hearing on November 16th, 2023, at 10 o'clock before the regular scheduled board meeting.
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nathan?
I just need to point out, obviously, something I've missed. On the resolution, after now therefore be it resolved as follows, item number 2, it says November 10th, it should be November 16th.
Right.
Sorry.
So I have a question.
Oh, honor before.
So can we do this at 10 in the morning, or does it have to be at 6 o'clock at night?
The only time you need to do 6 o'clock.
Is when you're doing it? Okay, yeah, you're right, tax increase,
Good,
okay?
we're okay then.
We're okay, perfect, okay. Let's move on,
So are we gonna, what time will we do the,
10 o'clock.
okay, is that our regular board meeting?
Yeah, if it's okay, we usually do like the hearing the first,
The very first,
yeah. so
do
it
that
does
first
start
and
at
then,
10,
okay.
And then continue with, or just open the board.
Yeah, see here, right here's our next board.
Yeah, I'll put, oh, I don't have that. Okay.
Okay. So our next board meeting's gonna be November 16th. And our final budget hearing will take place first at 10 a.m. And then our on-door public board meeting will take after.
And just an observation, the reason why we do the tentative budget now is so that if anything pops up in November, like you need to take it back and make significant changes, it gives us time to.
Right.
To maybe adopt it again in December, because we have to get it done by the end of the year.
Right.
What you want to avoid is a situation in which you get to if you hold the public hearing in December, right before the holidays, and you're like, oh, shoot, we need to redo some things,
Yeah.
you're out of time.
Yeah, right. Okay, who wants to take, the training and safety?
Yeah, I'll start with that. I think our interest here was just to report back some of the key takeaways that we've found from attending recent conferences. I'll start on the AWWA conference. One thing that I thought would be really valuable for us to implement is AWWA produces a publication called the Water Quality Complaint Investigator's Guide. And that is kind of a standard manual for how to investigate water quality complaints. It provides pictures, it provides standard, often key or typical sources of the water quality issue. What are the causes?
The complaints.
The complaints, the nature, how to handle them. And we could take that manual and do some more formal training for our front office staff. So Raymond's getting with the
Reaching
guy that
out.
we went to the presentation on and is
It
gonna,
was Crane, is who the presenter was, and I'm reaching out to him with some literature that he has that'll be beneficial for the office and kind of key questions that come across, that they will come across and know how to answer them.
Provide a more standardized
Be really nice.
approach and a reference point for all our staff on handling complaints. So we thought that was a positive. The other issue, we did present, Trevor made a presentation at that AWWA conference on where we're at on our lead and copper program. Had some assistance, some videos that were created, partially by. Yeah, we had, one of your staff was on one of the videos, right? And then we had some of our staff on the videos in the field and in the office, working on the lead and copper program, and Raymond can tell you a little bit more
Yeah,
about
we had
that.
a lot of good response. Like I say, we came a long ways on our lead and copper, thanks to Marie. She's really pushing us on this, and Trevor presenting. We've actually been hit up by a lot of districts asking us how we're going about it, the process that we're doing. So apparently we are doing some good, that we're reaching out to other districts, reaching out to us, asking us key questions on our techniques, on how we're solving this lead and copper. But I think it was a good conference, and we got a lot out of it. And I think that's about I got, unless you got anything else, Clint.
No, on, Dallas will represent us on WEPTEC.
So I have a question really quick. So when we go to these conferences, I think it'd be very neat to have some pictures, and I think it'd be very impressive to put them in our mailers at time, so people out there know what we're really doing.
Yeah.
You know, so they have an idea what we're going to training, we're doing this kind of stuff. The lead and copper would be a great thing to put out in
How we're gonna follow up.
in our billing, and some pictures of some stuff, just showing people what we're really doing here. Because that's one of the worst things that I'll say about our town is communication.
Yes.
Good idea.
Good idea, Mr. Chairman.
On that note, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to volunteer to take the first crack at that.
I'd love you to do that.
Bo and I were at WEPTEC. We took a ton of pictures of equipment that we were evaluating, just different manufacturers that some of our guys haven't been able to see. So we can put together some pictures and then maybe do something about how it's relevant to some of the projects that we have underway. I'd be happy to take this first step.
And see, and I like that a lot, because that kind of helps the community realize what they're paying for. Does that make sense? Because they're getting these bills and it's like, geez. But if they know what goes into what it does to create water for the town, I'm not saying it'd be perfect, but people
helps.
kind of it help to get an idea. I just
It does. Takes
I
a
just think
sticker
that would be a
shock
great idea to do. Anything that we can share with the public, we should do that.
And then the last one was the Cassell.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to let us go. The girls attended probably 3 hours each of courses, and
Who approved that?
you guys.
Oh, okay.
And I was just gonna say, Mike Harms, that has been helping in the office, he got the opportunity to attend some classes too. I was unable to attend, I was trying to get our budget done. So Mandy is gonna give us some highlights of things that she learned.
Well, it was really good to go because it gave us a lot of refreshers on the software we do have and the modules we have, as well as there are new things that are happening. They have updates very often, and those are very positive for us because it helps us, they fix things, they enhance the software, and let us know at that time how it's working and what needs to happen. And then there's also new stuff they're integrating that also helps us prepare to what we need to train on for front office and our staff, like Mike Farms as well. He went and he was able to attend some of those classes so that he can help us better in the office and pull up those accounts.
That is so awesome. I mean, we're moving, as I said, we're moving so much farther ahead, and we're be able to be flexible at different jobs, and I'm just very impressed with that. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, so that helped a lot to train and retrain or refresh and then let us know what's happening, going to happen in the future so that we can prepare as well.
I think last year was our first year after not attending for like 10 years. And the things that we've noticed that we
Missed.
missed was huge. So yes, thank you for letting us attend that.
No, that's awesome. And like I said, I was struggling there for a while because things do come with a cost.
Yeah.
But you know what? It also educates our people. That's very important. And, and like I said, if some of this stuff we can, have feedback and put out I don't read, I look at pictures, you know what I mean? And that kind of stuff, though, so people can see what we're doing, I think would be a big help to the community.
That's all we look at is pictures.
It's,
We don't read anything.
that's a great point, and that's where it always does come with a cost. The goal is when we can turn that cost into cost savings by more efficiency, right?
Yes.
Or we can do more with the same amount. And so that's where we can make that payoff.
And I don't want them
As long
to-
as we're still doing that, I think those are beneficial.
And I don't want them to think they've got to go and be under stress, you know what I'm saying? Just go take these classes and, learn, but it'd be neat to just give feedback to the community and some pictures of what we're doing.
Good. Thank you, Mandy.
Thanks, Mandy.
Thank you, Mandy.
Okay, we've already went over
So
the,
who's all going to,
Yeah,
I know
so
I am.
just need-
Did you document it, Leon?
What?
Who's going to Layton?
I'm gonna go.
I'll go.
I'm going.
Yeah.
All three of you then?
Yes,
Great,
Yes,
thank
all
you.
three of us.
there's lunch, right?
Yes,
Okay.
I think. That first day, I'm not
There'll be
sure.
ice cream there.
There'll be ice cream there
Heck,
anyhow.
yeah, who cares? The ice
We
cream
could
was.
go
We
to lunch
usually,
before.
we
Jeff,
usually
icy
meet
ice
up there
cream.
for lunch, but I don't think it's included in the conference.
No, we're okay. We're just,
We'll.
there's enough treats up there. We'll make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then as far as.
Right, Nathan?
admin,
There's usually plenty of treats if you just walk around.
Yeah. Clint wants to
Attracting
go.
treats.
Dallas, you are not able. to
Joe,
do
I'm
it.
all about treats, as you can see.
Are you going?
I don't need to attend.
Okay. Are you going? Okay, great. Thank you. We'll get everybody registered.
Okay,
Okay.
so they're ready to go.
Yes, so you want to close it?
Sure, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to meet immediately in closed meeting to discuss the character and professional competence or physical or mental health of an individual pending or reasonable intimate litigation, the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property, including any form of water right or water shares pursuant to Utah Code 88, 52-4-204 through 205.
I second that.
Didn't motion second, all in favor? Aye.
At 11:53.
Together, because the safety policy is part of the AR&Rs. It's
Oh,
exhibit, it's
okay.
addendum C.
Okay.
So if you want, Clint, I can go through.
Yeah, why don't you summarize that?
So the reason why we went into closed session, we had some professional character competence and mental, physical health issues that involve some incidents with some accidents and in the investigation aspects of both the safety policy and the AR&Rs. And so as a result of those incidents, we'd like to include some proposed changes to what's been presented in the board packet regarding the AR&Rs. The first of those deals with the post-accident drug reporting process in the AR&Rs. Right now, the way the policy is structured, just for the record, is anytime there's some type of an accident, there's a drug and alcohol evaluation that may need to be required. If the incident in question includes damage that exceeds $500 or any type of medical treatment, it's mandatory that there be a drug and alcohol evaluation. But the general manager nevertheless has the discretion to require it for any type of incident regardless of the value or whether or not there was any injury. What we're changing to that process is we're going to keep that language for the most part. We're going to add some language basically saying that the general manager and the operations manager will get notice of any incident, and that the general manager, in consultation with the safety manager, human resource manager, will then determine whether or not a drug evaluation is required, provided that if it's over $500 or someone gets hurt, it's mandatory.
Yeah.
So that's the first change. The second change is is just to make the incident investigation portion of the public safety or the safety policy consistent with this, and that's going to we're gonna change the language from human resources manager to safety manager throughout the safety policy, and also require personnel to remain at the scene of the incident or the accident if it's physically safe and immediate to do so, and to then contact both the safety manager. Well, actually, in this case, it would probably be contact the operations manager and the general manager, who will then consult with the safety manager. So those are the two edits that resulted from these incidents that we had discussed and closed. So for the motion, what I would propose is that we and we can go, we'll just add the list. So the motion would be to approve the AR&Rs to go into effect on November 1st with those changes to both the safety policy and the
Safety manual.
post-accident portion of the AR&Rs. And then I have another just kind of procedural change, and then you, sounds like you have one as well.
So the only other thing I wanted to bring to the board's attention is the board had expressed frustration that the benefits for the executive team, specifically on the pension, had not been addressed for a long period of time. And so we just added language to make sure if the board is supportive of this or any modification of this, we just said it is the intention of the board to review these benefits and consider any changes to these benefits at least annually. That gives some time period. That could be, that could match the union contract. It would be a longer period. And
How's it set up now?
we don't have anything to address it.
Have we been matching it with the,
We haven't addressed
Contract?
those annually. No, we have not addressed those annually. So I think that was the question is,
I think it was like 14 years between the last time and this time, and that was the frustration with the board had.
no, I believe we did discuss that.
it could have been, but it wasn't there was nothing in place that established how often that is addressed. So if the board wants to avoid those situations, this was one approach. If the board wants to take a different approach, certainly, this is just in response to that, to make sure it gets done. So whatever time period or whatever, however often the board wants to consider that to avoid the situation, that this is just something that says, hey, we're gonna formally bring something to you every year to address.
I don't think it should be automatic
Okay.
as we do the discussions, but I would like to discuss one of the other trustees, make sure everybody's on the same page. What do you think, Danny?
So we could take this out of this draft and always come back to it later if the board's.
I think we should.
Okay.
But I think what happened is we had something about spouses covered on insurance or something that our previous manager pulled on us and surprised us with. And it kind of jumped out at us, and I thought, what are we doing this for? And it kind of got pushed over the top to cover spouses or something else. I can't remember what it was. It was something to do with insurance, but they called the people that have our insurance and wrote over it and everything. And I thought we addressed that, but not this, what you're talking about here. I would like to make sure all three trustees are included in this.
So what I would propose then is we just strike this from this for now,
Okay.
and we'll just address it next time.
Address it next time.
This is in the AR&R?
Yeah, this is in the draft. That little red line is all we would be taking out.
Oh,
Yeah, that's actually, I think, in one of the addenda.
Yeah, it's
Maybe
even
addenda
in there,
H or something like that.
So I think the easiest way is to say,
so the only thing really changes, we're adding that annually.
yeah, that language.
And it's
that
just a
red-
consideration.
Yeah, it says it's the
Doesn't mean you're gonna
intention.
do it.
No, it doesn't mean you're gonna do
It means that you'll consider it annually.
Consideration, so.
And I don't know if that's a problem, because you're just considering it.
Yeah, that's up to the board. We just thought, well, we're gonna be intentional because it says it, so to avoid, having the large makeup that happened in the pension, that because of the time period that it had been since it was last adjusted.
I don't see a problem with that, do you?
I don't think it's a problem where it says, it doesn't say it has to be, it just says,
Right.
we will consider it, any changes annually.
Yeah,
I think that's fine.
okay.
I think it's okay.
I think before that thing with Terry was something with his wife, it wanted to bring his wife in it.
It was insurance, and
Yeah,
I
his
think that was
insurance
for
is-
your time.
Yeah, I think that was part of the proposed changes, but
That
I
it
don't
was
think
for my
ever-
time, it was on that
No, I think it was for your time.
A&Rs when he had them draw it up, and I kept getting up in the meeting saying not to go with them,
Yeah.
not to adopt them.
Anyway.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay,
I think one of the board members might be a little sensitive to this, because we're talking about performance stuff,
So-
performance bonuses, and this stuff, I think it would be a little sensitive. But,
So we have two options here on how, what Clint and I have discussed and suggested is that you approve this subject to these kind of technical edits.
Right.
So that it doesn't need to come back to the board, you're authorizing us to make the necessary language.
Okay.
They're proposing specific language here,
Yeah.
but just with the proviso that it would go into effect on November 1st.
this has been in the draft,
Yeah,
but we wanted to bring it to their attention.
yeah, and I think it just says you're gonna consider it. I think that's fine.
yeah. So I just want to make sure that if you're okay with that language, we can approve it now. Clint and I can make these changes that we've mentioned to the safety sections. There's one other minor technical change I want to suggest. And then it can just, we'll put it in there, it'll go into effect November 1st, we can post it. If however because Mick had to leave early, if you want Mick to be involved on some of this, we could make the changes and then bring it back for you guys to approve in November.
Well, he started on some new medication, and he said, this morning, he told me it's not been agreeing with him, so.
So
My only concern with that is that puts us a month out from
Yeah.
the implementation of the safety.
So if we're, I just want to make sure that you had said something about Mick may have some questions about this. If you have, if you're
No,
concerned about
I-
Mick, I would just take whatever Mick's concerned
No,
about.
it just says we'll consider it annually. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Okay.
Doesn't
So-
say you're gonna make an increase
Yeah,
annually.
it's just that you're gonna review it, so you
Yeah.
don't get far behind. So are we okay with that? Okay.
If the board is, yeah.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
he's okay with it.
The other change I would recommend, I wasn't gonna recommend this because it's a very minor nitpicky thing, but since we're making these other changes, I might as well propose it. When my staff was going through and formatting this, section 1.4 of your AR&Rs is rules of construction. That's the sections that it provides rules on how it's interpreted. So for instance, a singular number includes the plural, words used in the present tense include the future, just simple things like that. They noted that, with a lot of these, there's also definitions for mandatory terms like shall and will, and definitions of may and may not. And so I would, with your permission, like to just include, just to say, look, if the term will and shall is mandatory, the term may is permissive, the term may not or shall not is prohibited. Because people tend to fight over that. So those were just minor, it would just basically add that as 1.45, 1.46, 1.4.
Just makes it clear.
Yeah, because it's just, you'd be surprised how often you have to use these rules of construction. Because the board is who ultimately interprets these, but sometimes people won't like how it's applied and they want to argue over something. And they'll say, well, may not is permissive. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. And it's easier to say, well, no, actually, under our rules of construction. it's prohibited. So if that's, are there any other changes? So then the motion, Mr. Vice Chair, would be to approve the AR&Rs to go into effect November 1st, 2023.
Okay.
Subject to staff making the changes that have been discussed, namely amending the post-accident section of the AR&Rs to require reports of incidents to go to the general manager and the operations manager, to make corresponding edits to the incident investigation section of the safety manual to be consistent, and to require personnel to remain at the scene if safe to do so. And then thirdly, to add language in section 1.4 of the rules of construction to include definitions for mandatory and permissive terms, and I would also include to define the term include, just to say if you reference the term included, it's including but not limited to. And so that would be the approval and the changes.
Okay, what about the safety manual?
I went through that.
Oh, okay, well, yeah.
That was listed as a separate item, but it's,
Yeah, it's
they
supposed
only
to be a
need one
separate
motion.
item.
Yeah, it was just, you could just do so moved, and that would address both of them.
Okay, so, I'd like to make a motion to propose, approval of the proposed red line changes to the administrative rules and regulations
And the safety manual,
and the safety manual
as discussed,
as what?
as discussed.
As discussed, and to be effective, and provide the staff to be able to document the changes?
So this is, maybe I can make the motion, and then you just need to say so moved. Would that be easier?
Okay,
So the motion would be to approve the AR&Rs as presented to go into effect on November 1st, 2023, subject to the following changes, which staff are authorized to make. One, to change the post-accident section of the AR&Rs to require all accident reports to go to the general manager and operations manager. Two, to amend the incident investigation portion of the safety manual to require personnel to remain at the scene if physically safe and immediate and able to do so, and to contact the operations manager and general manager. And three, to amend the rules of construction section of the AR&R found in section 1.4 to include definitions for mandatory, permissive terms, and the term include. So that's the motion. So if that's acceptable, you would say so moved.
so moved, and then you'll second it?
I'll second it.
Okay, so it's been motioned and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, is that it? Okay,
The other one,
no, that's it.
that's it?
Is that it?
Yep.
Okay,
That's all of them?
think so. I think that's all I have.
I think we addressed it.
Yeah,
We're tabling the inspector for next time, yeah.
yeah. Okay, so, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second that.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Clint, I need to get those.
228.